Welcome to A1R Psychic Radio here on Moonstruck TV with Amanda Hall Psychic all the way from the Gold Coast here in Australia, and it's a beautiful spring morning here. I was going to say the sun's out, but that would be a little bit of a fib. It's sort of overcast and threatening to rain, and we desperately need rain here. So we've all got our fingers and toes crossed that we're going to get a little bit of spring rain. But for those of you around the rest of the planet of ours, I hope you've had an absolutely sensational week and the planets were kind to you, as it was a very difficult week astrologically last week. We're all being pulled in many different directions, and this week's probably no exception. But anyway, let's kick the show off with the Simply Tarot card of the week. And I'm pleased to say this week it's the card of the Sun. This is one of my favourite cards because every time I see this card, I automatically think of things are going to be okay because the sun's shining on us and we've got, you know, the light and the prosperity coming our way. So the Sun card actually means marriage. And when I use the word marriage, I am talking about legal piece of paper type commitment marriage, whether you call that a commitment ceremony or whether you call it marriage in today's modern times. I'm a little bit old-fashioned. To me, marriage still means the piece of paper. Happiness and bright prospects. So the Sun card always sort of brings a light and the sunshine into our lives, which I think is very important sometimes when you seem to feel as if you're going through a lot of changes or you're going through a lot of things that have, it's been a long time to get to the end of the tunnel. So when you see the Sun card coming up in a reading, after a period of time like that, it's like finally the sunlight's getting in, we've got the light, we've got the way forward. So it's a really prosperous, lovely, positive card to start the week on. And it's really interesting because I always choose the candle of the week, probably a day or two before the show, and I choose the card of the week only moments before the show. And this week I'm really excited to say they've coincided. I drew the Sun card today, and I'd actually chosen the Sun candle a couple of days ago. So that's the synchronicity of the universe at its best. So as I said, it's been a very difficult week astrologically. A lot of people have really struggled with being pulled every which way from where they need to be sort of going. So I'd like to sort of keep on the astrological theme if we can for the moment. And the Sun has just moved into Libra, which is a really, really nice spot to have the Sun, is that the Sun has moved into Libra this week. So it means now that our attention is starting to move towards bringing balance and harmony into our lives. It's like the balancing of the scales. And it's interesting, this morning here in Australia, I woke up to the news out of the UK that the government over there had done an illegal act and the High Court had ruled that what they'd done was illegal. So it's interesting that it's on the first day of Libra, and here we already have somebody bringing down their findings or sort of bringing things into balance and sort of saying, okay, this is not correct, you've done something wrong. So you need to now go back and rectify this and do it very, very quickly. But on the other hand, we've been talking a lot about Saturn this year, and we've been talking a lot about the influence of Saturn in Capricorn, Pluto in Capricorn, and that ruling big business, governments, anything sort of official in our lives. And we've been focusing on that a fair bit. And again, this week, I want to talk about Saturn in Capricorn. I mean, he's only got a matter of months left in the sign of Capricorn, another 12 months, I think. But this week he's holding hands or conjunct one of the moon's nodes. Now, the south node is known as trying to take the easy way out. Now, I thought that was quite apt, considering the things that are going on around the world at the moment. We've got summits going on climate change. We've got prime ministers and presidents all shaking hands with each other, slapping each other on the back, saying a job well done, and all blowing their own trumpet. And it strikes me as, are they all trying to take the easy way out? Are they trying to convince us that this is one big happy wide world and we should all get on the bandwagon with them and slap each other on the back and say a job well done? Well, I don't believe that that's the correct thing to do. Look, it's nice to see that they all get on, but are they trying to sort of whitewash us with all the things that are really going on by sort of making lighthearted of these sort of things and just sort of pumping up the fact that we're all best buddies in the sandpit, instead of really dealing with the issues that we need to be dealing with, like climate change, amongst, you know, to me, that's one of the number one priorities in the world, is that we've got to leave this planet in a better place than we found it when we were born. And we're not doing that. We're failing to do that. And this is where I think that the South Node comes into play here, with Saturn, because Saturn's trying to wield the big stick and say, it's time to make some choices, some decisions. Let's get serious about this. And everybody's trying to take, or the majority of countries are trying to take the easy way out, where we'll try and divert the attention away from the major issues at hand and sort of, bring everything into balance in a nice, pretty, fairy floss pink way, and we'll just whitewash it over the general population. They're too stupid. They won't know what we're talking about. As long as everything seems happy, joy, they'll go along for the ride. Well, I think they're all going to be for a rude shock, because people are starting to wake up and realising the power of their vote. And I think that's the very important thing this week to look at on an astrological level. So for those of you that are Libras or air signs, it's a nice positive time of the year for you guys, where things sort of start to flow a little bit better. Ideas and thought patterns are starting to come together, and you're starting to feel as if somebody's lifted a heavy burden off your shoulders, that finally your thinking can sort of be set free and we can get some great, innovative, inspirational ideas. So moving on to the candle of the week, as I spoke about just briefly before, this is the sun candle. Now, it's one of my favourite candles because, again, I look at this as bringing the sunlight or the sunshine into our lives. It's bringing happiness. It's bringing, you get out of bed and the sun's shining and you immediately feel better. And I think, the sun has such sort of healing rays and can sort of put a positive spin on things in our own personal lives, that when the sun's shining, we all automatically feel better. So the sun candle certainly does that. If you're looking to bring some sunshine into your life, or to bring some new, fresh, innovative ways into your life, why don't you get a little piece of paper and write out 3 things that you might want to attract or bring into your life, or give a little bit more energy to, on your piece of paper, and pop it underneath your sun candle. Burn your candle from 15 minutes to 2 hours a day for a 7-day period, and really believe in what you're trying to bring sunlight into. I know for me personally, this week I've been trying to bring the sunlight into, my work situation, because, like everybody else, I have my little bit of down times where I sort of think, oh, what's this all about and what am I doing, and am I getting too old for this sort of game, and is it time to hang up my shingle? And then I sort of think, no, but I really do enjoy what I do. I think just sometimes I think we all sort of maybe feel a little bit tired, and can do with sort of getting out and getting a dose of sunshine. And that's what I've been trying to do, is sit in the garden and just take a few minutes and enjoy the sun's rays and the warmth that's coming into our climate here at the moment, as we're heading towards summer, which is my favourite time of the year. So it's, I think we all can do with a little recharge of the sun's batteries every now and then in our lives. And it's an important sort of candle to have, and it's an important card to work with too, because to me it sort of ends the darkness. So for those of you that don't want to work with an extra large candle, you can buy a gift box of candles. And this week I've made it up with a passion candle, a water sign candle, and a travel candle. I want to show you that you don't always have to have the 3 of the same candles, that you can make your choice of your box from the 28 in the range. So it's a very individual choice. And these little candles will burn for up to about 20 hours each if you keep them out of drafts and away from fans and air conditioners. And they make the perfect little gift for somebody to just sort of say thank you, or I'm thinking of you, or here's just a little gift because you're a wonderful person and I enjoy having you in my life. So that's just our gift box set of the card box of 3 candles. Those of you that don't want to work with a candle, you can always buy a melt warmer down at your local department store or supermarket. These are electric. Put a couple of teaspoons of your soy wax in there. Do your little list as we do and pop it under the candle. You can just pop it under the melt warmer. And this will actually work the same way. And it's much safer if you can't have a flame because you've got small children or pets or animals, or don't have the space to burn a candle safely. This is a very safe, definite alternative for you. So they're easy to use. You just have a little tray that lifts off at the top. You put your 2 teaspoons of wax in there, add in half a teaspoon a day past that point. When you need to change the wax in your melt warmer, what I do is I pop it in the freezer for a couple of minutes, then just get a plastic spoon underneath it and the actual wax lifts out, and then you can dispose of it in your trash. So moving on to our famous person of the week, and we've been focusing on actors, but sometimes actors' lines get a little bit blurred where they have other skills as well. And some of the actors that we've featured recently have also had singing careers or television careers, as well as sort of being on the stage and in films. And this week we're up to the male version of Sagittarius. Now, I had a plethora of people to choose from, and it was really hard for me to narrow down who I was going to pick. But then I sort of thought, no, look, I'm going to go with this iconic man because I think he meant so much to many people in many different ways, whether it was from his acting or the films that he was in or the stage productions he was in or his beautiful singing voice. And I'm talking about the one and only Frank Sinatra. Now, Frank Sinatra, for most of us, know, some of his songs and we sing along to them, and people sort of looked at him, you either loved him or hated him, but he had a charisma. He had a magnetic sort of energy that he was able to sort of get away with things that the average person couldn't get away with. I mean, he certainly had very definite opinions about things. He was certainly a man's man. He appeared in many films, many stage productions, had many hit records. But I think sort of, the controversy and the things that he did in his life sort of signaled that he was his own person. Whether it was him sort of going out there and spruiking about his political beliefs and getting his energy behind people in politics, or whether or not it was his connections, whether they be true or whether they be false, with the mafia, I suppose we'll never really know. I mean, just because he had friends that were in the mafia didn't mean that he necessarily was connected to the mafia. And I think sometimes people just like to draw conclusions when, they see somebody in a photo opportunity, and probably more so today where people get more photos done. But, being seen to be sort of snapped by the paparazzi with somebody that, is considered connected to the mafia or an organisation like that, well, all of a sudden that person has those sort of traits. But I think one of the things that I'll probably always remember Frank Sinatra for, besides him and I share the same birthday, is the song that I believe he's the most famous for. And I can remember my father used to sing it to me, not that he had a great voice, when I was a little child, and used to say to me, this song really fits you. And I don't think he knew that Frank Sinatra and I shared the same birthday. But the song is I Did It My Way. And I think that really became his signature song, that he really did do everything his way. He didn't answer to anybody else. He did it his way all the time. And it didn't matter whether it was popular or unpopular, that was the way it was. And, he had very many famous friends, and I'm sure they had lots of fun times together. But I'm sure there was many times that he struggled in his life too. And this is where the strength of his character comes through. And, his motto, I did it my way, was probably the thing that helped him sort of struggle through life at the different changes that we all presented to all of us, each and every person in our lives. So when you're feeling a little bit down, maybe YouTube it and put that on the stereo or something. Frank Sinatra and I Did It My Way. We're going to take our first caller, which is Maddie in Ahoskie in Carolina. Are you there, Maddie?
Yeah.
You have a question I can work with, sweetie?
I wanted to know about my children.
Right.
I wanted to know about my children because my children are very distant from me, and I have a son that is incarcerated and one just got out of incarcerated. And then I have my daughter that is defying me, and my other son, he's defying me too because he's being very disrespectful to me. And my daughter, we had lost she lost her baby, which was my grandson, and I think that I understand she needs her space, and I have been doing that. It's just that I don't understand what's going on with her, and now she had cut me off my other grandchildren and told me that I was not able to see them, talk to them, or even hear words from them. And I've been trying my best. I do everything for my kids when I know I'm not supposed to, but I do it anyway because I'm their mother. But I'm trying to figure out what is it that I have done wrong by raising my children, even though I had other people raising them. But the thing is, I don't know why they're not comprehending with me. They're not getting in contact with me, only trying to get in contact with me if they're in trouble or if they need money. And they want me to watch them. My daughter wants me to watch the kids for her. And I feel a mother/grandmother shouldn't have to go through that. I've been having a lot of losses in my life.
Look, I totally agree with you. Your children's behaviour is very much unacceptable. But unfortunately, this day and age, our children seem to sort of take on a different view on life. That, you know, the story that you're sharing with us, Maddie, is a very common story around the world, and a lot of mothers don't understand why, when they did the very best that they could do for their children and tried to be, in most cases, a better mother and a better parent than what they were raised, and why your children sort of tend to go the complete opposite direction and disrespect you. Look, the first thing I want to say to you when I tapped into your daughter's energy is she's angry. She's very, very angry with you. And I don't understand the reasons why, because to me, there's no logical reason there for to have such anger towards you that it's almost to the point of being incredibly bitter, twisted, sort of, it's like you could say the sky's blue and she mightn't necessarily say anything to your face, but behind your back she'd argue that what an idiot you are. Didn't you know that there was white clouds in there, or there was a black cloud in there, the sky wasn't blue, and what do you know? And it's sort of, and she goes on and on and on and on. That is something I think that I want to take way back to her childhood. Now, I think she was possibly always a difficult child in as much as she was never easy to please, even as a child. She always sort of seemed to argue with you or stand up to you, even as a little person. So this is something that's come through karmically. Sometimes I think we as parents don't understand that we bring certain lessons into this lifetime as well. And, you know, many people have written that we choose our parents. Well, I think our children, you know, certainly choose their parents, but I think we also as parents choose our children so that we can fulfill the lessons that we come here to do as a soul. So look, I personally don't believe you've done anything wrong. I think your daughter's got to go through whatever it is and work out her own anger and whatever else, and sort of come to terms with that and start to sort of respect you for a mother and what you've done. As hard as it might be, I think what you need to do, Maddie, is take a step back. Don't always be as available to her when she sort of snaps the fingers and you come running and say, how high do you want me to jump, dear? Just so that you can see the grandchildren. I think you need to take a stand and sort of say, hang on a minute, this is not acceptable. You can't just contact me when you're in trouble or you need money or you need a babysitter. I deserve and I request more respect than that. I feel by doing that, as much as she might get in a huff and sort of try and punish you a little bit to begin with, you have to take that in your stride as well, and then know that, you know, eventually she will start to see that she can't just use you. You're not just there as a doormat to wipe her feet on as she walks past. As far as the boys, I feel they're all very individual and very different young men, but they all seem to have a journey that I think that they need to fulfill themselves. Look, I don't believe you failed any one of your children as a mother. I think actually what you've done is you've brought them up too well, in a sense. You brought them up to think for themselves. You brought them up not to fear anything, to sort of, you know, to have the confidence in their own abilities and their choices to do things their way. But the thing is, what they've chosen to do as being my way isn't necessarily your way. And this is where the conflict comes in. You sort of think, well, okay, my boys got into trouble and they ended up being incarcerated. What did I do? How did I fail them as a parent? No, no, no. Stop right there. You did not do anything wrong. You did not fail them as a parent. They made those choices. They took those risks. They have to answer to the consequences for their own actions. It's not a reflection on you. You didn't hold a shotgun to their head and tell them to do the wrong thing and break the law. They made that decision all by themselves. So there's nothing I think that you need to change. I think what you need to do now, Maddie, is put yourself first. And sort of by showing them this, that you're not necessarily going to be there to pick up all their messes and clean up after them all the time. You're leading by example, and that's what you need to do, because these children have used you. They know that you're kind-hearted. They know that family means the world to you and your grandchildren. So they use this as a tool to get their own way. Well, we now need to tighten that up and stop that. Look, I do think it's going to take a little bit of time, but I do feel in this next 18 months, I feel that you can turn these relationships around with each and every one of your children in their own way, and you will end up building a much more solid family and solid relationships that you can be happy with, that you can turn around and say, well, that's good. They are my children. I did bring them up well, and now they're starting to become responsible young people and adults and parents in their own right. So I hope that's helped you, Maddie, and I wish you well with your conquest of, getting your children into control and sort of, starting to feel happier in yourself. So maybe you want to go off and listen to Frank Sinatra's song and make that your mantra for your life. I did it my way, and put yourself first for a change. We're going to go to Jennifer in Pembroke Pines, Florida. Are you there, Jennifer?
I am.
How are you tonight, Jennifer? Have you got a question I can help you with?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out, my fiance passed away back on August 16th, and we're trying to figure out what happened.
Okay, look, I'm really sorry to hear that. I'm sorry to hear that, Jennifer. It's always difficult to try and tune into somebody that's passed over with the limited amount of time that we've got, but I'll do my very best. The first thing that they're showing me on a psychic level was I've got a symbol of endings. I mean that's very obvious, the fact that, he's passed away, that's an ending. But I want to take that into another sort of level. Was there something that had just completed or just finished in his life that he was very satisfied with or felt happy about, that, like it had taken a long time to get to this point where he could sort of turn around and be proud of his accomplishments?
I mean, maybe. I mean, he really turned into the church and to God the last 6-7 months.
Okay.
So he was very in tune with that and very proud of that.
Yeah, okay, that's good. But before that, before he turned to the church and religion, had he really been struggling with who he was as a person?
Yes.
He keeps saying to me that there's no foul play in this.
He keeps saying what? I'm sorry, there's no foul play?
Foul play with his, no foul play. So there's nothing sinister there or around his death. But he's also sort of not sharing with me why or how it happened, just telling me that there was no foul play. Like, if you suspected that someone else had a hand in his death, he's telling me that that's not the case.
Okay.
Was the official finding that he took his own life?
No. Not that we're aware. We were still waiting for the reports, but I don't believe so.
No, I was just about to say to you that that's not the answer. If that's what the official finding is, he's telling me that that's not the case. I actually feel that there was some health issue that he wasn't even aware of, and that's what took his life. It was sudden. It was something that he wasn't expecting, and he was in a very good spot emotionally. He'd never been stronger. He'd never been happier. So this, in a sense, is really, all deaths are a tragedy and a terrible loss for those that are left behind. But this one's even more so because he was a man that had finally got himself to a position in his life where he felt empowered, he felt comfortable, he felt strong, he was excited about the future, he had loads of plans, and then it was like life was ripped away from him, and it's sort of like it's incredibly unfair, more unfair than I would see with other people, because this wasn't something that he had planned or had even crossed his mind. So please don't think, no matter what comes back as the official finding, he's saying to me that there was no foul play and he did not cause it. It was something else.
Okay.
Because you've questioned this every which way, haven't you? You've sort of tried to be very objective and tried to look at it with no barriers, like to try and. Some people would sort of say almost like you've looked at it through fairy eyes. You fairy flossed it pink and sort of said, but you haven't. To me, you took everything back to bare basics and looked at everything from, how he was feeling and what he said, what was his last conversation and what his facial features looked like, and did he look happy, did he look sad? You've peeled back all the layers. So I'm going to say to you, there's nothing you could have done to prevent this or stop this, and just know that he's in a, he's peaceful, and he misses you terribly. But he keeps saying to me, there will still be 3 question marks or 3 unanswered sections of this that we'll never get answers to. And it's like he can't even give you the answers to it because he doesn't know himself.
Okay.
So I'm not sure whether that means there was 3 underlying health issues that he knew nothing about, or whether there's just going to be 3 portions of this that you'll still always question. And what he's asking you to do is, once the findings come back and you get the official bits of paper, is to, yes, process it, work through it, but then let it go and move on with your life. And just know that he's always with you. He still loves you and he misses you terribly. And it was nothing that he had no responsibility in his passing. So I'm sorry, Jennifer, that's where we're going to have to leave it because we're at the end of the show. So until next week, I hope everybody's kind to each other and don't forget to, stretch your stuff and do everything your way this week. Take a little bit of Frank Sinatra with you and sing through the day and sort of really stand up for who you are and what you believe in, and let the sunshine come into your life. I think that's a very important thing, that we all need to bring a little bit of sunshine and some light and happiness into our lives. So until next week, bye for now.